Dan Weiskopf, welcome back to F.A.C.E. How
Hey
are you,
Dale,
buddy?
thanks for having me. And,
That's
and and
good.
by the way, to your point, I love community. And we do a lot of spaces. We do a lot of interaction with folks just for the benefit of sharing insights.
Yeah.
So you're so right. The market. My dad used to say the market will make you humble, and it does.
Yeah. And, we only have two eyes, right, Dan?
Yeah, we only have two eyes and and two
So, I mean,
yeah, and two ears.
you got some talented people with their eyes, and, you could understand the math 1 + 1 = 11. So, I'm so glad to have you back, Dan. I'm curious if you want to share your screen. Were there any charts or anything you brought, or I could go ahead and do it?
I didn't bring anything.
Okay, I'll
My
do it.
my yeah, my question to you then would be, tell me a little bit more about your audience. Obviously, it seems to me, because I've been listening, that they have a trading perspective. Is it
Yes.
day trading? Is it trend trading? I want to add some value. Obviously
Okay.
from a perspective, I am by background the portfolio manager or co-portfolio manager of the blockchain ETF, uh, B-
Okay. All right.
BLOK. Happy to
Okay.
talk. Happy to talk blockchain and crypto.
All right. Okay.
Uh, um,
We have crypto traders, everything on my screen, Dan, as far as time frames for holds of trades, that too is different. Most of this is leverage, so 2 3 day swings, sometimes 2 3 week positions. Probably nothing like, except I know there are some guys that do hold positions for months. So, and we look at everything, not just currencies. We look at the metals, and we look at commodities, and we look at crypto. And so we cover anything that moves, anything that has a chart.
yeah,
Stocks as well. Follow that, different groups to give us market tells. Yeah, agricultural commodities, natural gas, everything. So you're in a very interesting field. What I want to ask you is a couple of things about crypto, and here's Dan's website. They're right there at all the major money centers, except Detroit really isn't one, but probably one of the founders lives there, is my guess, right?
it's funny
Huh?
you say that. So we just had a group meeting in Detroit. And we've
the,
got offices in Chicago and
the city's coming back, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Detroit.
Detroit's coming back, New York's coming back, US is coming back. And globally, I think we'll get over this kind of hurdle. If you go to the amplify.com block website, it may be more helpful. Toroso, as a firm, manages about 8 billion in ETF money. The
Okay.
blockchain is about 1.7 billion of it.
Okay.
Um, Toroso, what you're looking at as a website, is really, offering investment services to registered investment advisors. You'll see
Okay.
under products and services, that's like our SMA. I also
Okay.
I also am the lead ETF strategist for the ETF think tank, which offers services to financial advisors as well,
Okay.
tools, etc. Um,
So nothing for the retail. It has to be an RIA that you mainly work with. You like, if I was interested in working with you, I'm really not one of your target markets of clients that you work with retail.
Dale, I'll take your money. Happy to manage it for you. But no, I think to your
Okay.
point, we really work with registered investment advisors.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do see that you do have managed accounts, and that would be RIAs placing it with you, or individuals could place capital with you for
Well,
your
both.
manage. Okay. And your
Well,
minimum for a managed?
a quarter of a million. We
Okay.
really don't go below that.
All right. So, let's get back to your bailiwick and talk a little bit about cryptos here. Um, what do you think of the kind of the correlation that people are talking about doesn't always work, but when crypto is strong, precious metals are weak. When precious metals are strong, crypto is weak. Coincidental or any reason for that relationship to exist, even though, like most correlations, they don't hook up all the time, but they seem to sometimes.
Yeah, it's a great question, and often people are arguing back and forth between whether or not Bitcoin or gold, which one to hold. And the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is diversification is the answer. Holding both, I think, makes a whole lot of sense. If you want to broaden that out and just talk general metals, it doesn't surprise me that they, move differently. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, and I don't know that it's worth a whole lot, we're about 70% correlated to the price action in Bitcoin. We being block. And that isn't coincidental, because it's the way we've built it of late is that we're along a lot of the miners. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And that correlation is working in crypto or Bitcoin, particularly because they're holding the commodity, we'll say. If you're going to ask me whether or not Bitcoin is a store of value, it's a store of value in the same sense that Cisco might be a store of value, right? It's going to work well at times and work very poorly at other times. I'm not one of these maximalists. I don't have anything in my eyes. I want to keep my eyes open so I can see
Okay.
the future.
So some of these you know, hold on for dear life for, you know, $1
No,
million,
no.
guys like that. Do you have an explanation for, and I bet you do, what I've noticed, especially last couple of days, how Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, holding up better. Yesterday, Bitcoin was down and Ethereum was still higher on the day. Is there some big development happening that people are gravitating towards Ethereum? And do people trade these as pairs sometimes, like long Ethereum, short Bitcoin? They trade
Uh,
them that way?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure there are a
Yeah,
lot of folks who trading like that.
yeah,
It's not my thing.
yeah,
But to answer your question, they're different utility values, right?
right.
Ethereum has a different use case than Bitcoin. And we're seeing a lot of money going into developing the Ethereum platform, right?
Okay,
and
yeah,
and and that's why it's going to work differently. There's probably going to be a point in time, frankly, where they're even less correlated than they currently are.
okay. Switching gears a little bit, Dan. Did Friday mean anything to you and your work? What are your thoughts? Especially that it was happened on such a thin day. I know I didn't get up till 8 in the morning. I'm on the West Coast, so markets had been open for quite some time. I turned on my screen and said, "Wow." That kind of hit we took, and um, you know, besides the S&Ps, the big break that we had in energy. Do you think that are you seeing outflows, or is this are you starting to see inflows? Because everyone loved the energy sector up here before this pullback. Are you seeing any flows? Do you have any energy ETFs at Toroso that you talk about and people participate in?
Specifically in the way of energy, um, I don't think I have a whole lot of of comments. I mean,
Okay.
we saw positive flows in block, and we saw um, uh, we were net buyers in block
Okay.
in terms of exposures. I specifically on that day, I mean, what a perfect storm, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
Traders are not going to do anything on that day, and not the big traders. And it does create great opportunities for a lot of folks. I'd love to, put some bids that are random on a day like a Friday end of month when everybody else is fat and happy on the holiday. But no, I thought it was a pretty quiet day.
What are flows like if you have a precious metal ETF that you sponsor? Do you have one?
We're involved in a
Yeah.
couple of them.
Yeah.
In the way of precious metals, I don't have any direct affiliation with GoAU, but that's probably my favorite one.
Okay.
And they're gold mining um, ETF, right? And the interesting part about them specifically is that they're not just the miners; they're also the royalty trust companies. So they're
Okay.
they're taking advantage of clipping the coupon
Oh,
while lending to the miners.
oh, interesting. So there's a yield on it.
There isn't so much a yield on the ETF, but the business model of the
Oh, I
royalty
see.
trust is working that way.
Okay.
And by the way,
Uh,
but just to help you out on that question, you might see a yield on it, but it was more like a cap gain.
okay.
Um,
And that was what again? AU?
GOAU.
Go AU. Almost a Go Arizona University.
Yeah,
So here it is. Okay. Take a look at it.
it might look like shit on a chart basis, but that shouldn't be
Yeah.
a surprise.
Yeah. Well, it'll be higher today because look at how gold held right where it had to. So,
Yeah,
I think we're right on the, you know,
that's interesting.
precipice of being good or bad from here for $150 or so. So here's just a quick look at gold. And this is, I think, the last rationalization that you're going to have. Oh, that's GDX, which looks kind of crummy, but
They,
the
they, they
gold,
they look similar, by the way,
yeah,
from a chart
there's gold.
perspective.
So this trend line, we held it yesterday. I still think that we could rally to 1820, but unless we close back above it, not real positive about it. This was a nice play. SCO took advantage of that $20 decline uh, in the energy complex. Do you have anything strictly for volatility? Any ETF? Are there any ETFs? I know there's a lot of VIX products. Any VIX products that you know of that do not have a huge amount of decay in them when you buy them, like a VIXie or any of those products that you like? Are there any volatility products that um, you when you're thinking about that there's going to be a move involved that you might consider buying?
Not in that I can talk about on this call,
Okay.
because I got to be careful on knowing my audience. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about the VIX products, you nailed it right on the head, Dale. The decay is bad, right?
Yeah.
And
You
and I
can't
just
position trade with those.
you cannot.
I've tried it.
Yeah, and people don't
You
understand them.
have to learn the hard way sometimes.
Yeah. My younger brother used to tell me on the leveraged products, and he's a trader as well. My dad was a trader, so he used to argue with me about how all the leverage products are going to zero,
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, well, they might not go to zero. They're going to be bad. Don't get me wrong, but they'll just reverse split, so they won't go to zero.
One group that was so hot for such a long time and it's really fallen out of favor is the marijuana stocks. They still look, I have a real spec one up here, but even if you go to some of the other ones, do you think that it's going to take new federal legislation to get them moving again so that they could be banked? Here's Tilray.
Yeah, I mean, in the way of ETFs, I favor Charlie, Nancy, Boy, Sam in that space because it's actively managed. This space requires an expertise. I don't have that expertise.
Yeah. Because
So,
you could be right about the sector, and you have to do due diligence on the company and see what kind of debt they're holding, and you really have to be able to go into a balance sheet and understand it, right?
well, you do, right? And it's kind of like the blockchain, in that you got to build a network around a thesis, right? And Tim Seymour knows the managements. So
Yeah.
so he's the guy who can answer your question better than I can. Because I don't know what's going on with Tilray, but you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, the banking system needs to align with the marijuana trend. Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking about marijuana, don't smoke it in your EV, but the EV stocks have been really on fire. Where's the next Tesla? Seems to be the theme that's out there
Yeah.
on the street. Are
Yeah.
there any ETFs that cover,
Yep.
this new up and coming group?
Yep. There are about 4 or 5 of them. I lean
Okay.
towards cars, KARS.
That's how I always spelled it, even in grammar school.
Yeah, I love it.
It wasn't the band spelled that way, Cars?
Yeah, no, they were CARS. I remember the band too, by the way, Dale. We're about the same age. I might have to play it.
All right, so here's Cars.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be a pretty bullish looking chart.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's 7% weighted to Tesla.
Okay.
Which is a reasonable allocation to me, right?
Right.
It's got NIO in it, NIDEC as well, and of course,
Wow.
you gotta own Ford, GM, and what I call Chrysler. You can call it Daimler. I don't know, but we're both old timers, right? So we know it's really Chrysler.
So anyway, also with EVs, it's part of the green story. Solar. Solar actually has been acting good. Maybe some of the incentive comes out of solar if oil prices continue to drop. I would think, how about you, Dan, that $100 oil would be better for the green movement and solar and wind and green energy, so that energy is so expensive that it's more than competitive with fossil fuels. Feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way. But at the end of the day, we're going that way anyway, right? Whether it's $100 oil or $50 oil. I'm in the process of buying a car. Obviously, when I say process, it's process because it takes 3 months to get a car, right? These days.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
But to your point, I'm buying something that
hybrid
is not EV, right? And knowing that it's going to be antiquated in like 2 months or 2 years rather, or 3 years. And that sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot of fun to invest, money like that.
Go with the hybrid.
Yeah.
No?
The wife didn't want to do it.
You've done your research.
Yeah, no. I got 2 kids, and quite honestly, I'm cheap. So
okay. Well, you know what they say, when you go into a discount store and you buy something cheap, you know what happens? It breaks.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Just like stocks. Oh, it's cheap, but then it breaks to new lows. So I want to ask you something, because I think we're coming to a crossroads in the next couple months, we've had a real strong dollar, Dan. Everyone came in bearish dollar last year. And the dollar has had a big year. It's starting to get attention now because, we're reaching levels we haven't been in for a long time. But, it's just a narrative I'm starting to work with, is that I think that between here and maybe 98, max 100, that we're going to get a dollar high. So what groups have suffered the most or have been poor performers with the dollar going up? Because, they used to say dollar going up was kind of like a wrecking ball to equities, but equities did just fine with a strong dollar this year. Multinationals underperforming during this year, 2021, because of headwinds of a stronger dollar, or it just brushed it aside?
Yeah. So, when I look at the dollar, I'm looking at UUP as an ETF.
Right, right.
As far as which industries will do badly with a strong dollar, I got to think through that a little bit
Okay.
in the context of ETFs. And maybe I'll tweet an answer for you as ETF professor. I forgot to mention that I'm the ETF professor on Twitter.
Well, I've had professors in my lifetime. In fact, one of my college professors asked the class, which is worse, ignorance or apathy? And
Apathy.
I answered, I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got an A. So anyway, just, so it'd be interesting to know, because if we do get a turn in the dollar, and I'm not saying that there's not more left to the upside, usually the most dramatic part is near the end. But if we start having currency debasement, which might be the next step to make our huge debt load easier to carry, and also
Sure.
take pressure off of emerging markets that have all their debt denominated in dollars, that I'd be looking for. I mean, the obvious ones are, commodity related.
Sure.
It's not necessarily that negative for stocks because you have nominal gains, but I'd be looking for things that did not like a strong dollar, and it's probably multinationals and or U.S. companies that export that would rather have a weaker dollar. So just something I thought I'd bring up. How about the interest rate scenario here, Dan? ETFs, TLT and TBT, your main proxies for when you're looking at rates?
Yeah. No, I think that's right. And there, it's going to be very volatile. We also looking at the move index as an indicator of that volatility. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. The 10-year has been had a little pullback, but it's acting pretty good. But the bonds look like they want to. I don't know how you justify. This. It's almost like people are buying bonds. Normally, during a tapering process, could the bond market be saying that there's a policy error with what the Fed is doing? And, the short end of the curve is, it's almost like they're moving in the same directions, but they mean opposite things. So you have the 10-year doing this, and you have the TLT, which with the 10-year going up last week, bonds are going up too. So we must have a flattening going on here.
Dale, you're addressing one of the biggest challenges for the financial advisor community, right? People are expecting fixed income to provide safety.
Yeah.
But what we find is a lot of advisors are using, and I think it's the right answer, using fixed income as a protection to their portfolio,
Okay.
which forces them to trade, right?
Yeah.
And because fixed income is no longer that safety net. like it used to be. When the shit hits the fan, fixed income's going to be the indicator, right? And people are going to be shocked if they're overweighted fixed income. It's going to be scary for a lot of retirement people.
That's the biggest bubble out there. I mean, when I think about it, Dan, and tell me what you think about a lot of these companies, especially like airlines that, they went to the corporate debt market and they didn't build new planes or hire more people. They use the proceeds from the debt for financial engineering, for stock buybacks and paying out dividends. And then when the virus hit, they had nothing saved for a rainy day. When corporations do that, aren't they really, because they're borrowing money to do this for buyback programs, actually have a margin account on their own company?
You threw a lot at me on that.
Yeah.
I've been long Cisco for about 20 years. And
Okay.
I'm angered by the irresponsibility by the management, just sitting there as an ATM buying back their stock, right? My answer was they should have been buying Bitcoin and moving forward, innovating. I think if a company just buys back its stock, especially if it's doing through leverage, it's just dopey. It's just protecting their careers.
Their interest in how they get paid with stock options, etc.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, appreciate you going around the board with me. And best way for people to follow you and get a hold of you, they could always go to your website. You have some nice news stories here on resources, I noticed. So,
Sure.
People could go there, or they could find you on Twitter at the
ETF Professor.
at ETF Professor.
Yep.
Correct, Dan?
That is correct. ETF Professor.
Well, Dan, thanks so much for coming here and bantering with me for about 30 minutes. I appreciate it. And I'm a trader of ETFs. I think they're a great alternative for people that, do not want to trade futures or individual stocks. And I've heard so many horror stories like you were talking about where, someone may have liked silver and bought the wrong silver company instead of going to an ETF. I've done that before, and they really do not eliminate the risk of you being wrong about a sector, but eliminate the risk if you're not real good at due diligence on reading about the financials of a company and what could happen to one company. You could have a company, a miner in a country where things become unstable and people worry about nationalization. So,
Absolutely.
Like the product and appreciate you, Dan. Thanks very much, and
Thank you.
I hope you have a great fall trading season. And I'll reach out to you so we could do this again next time.
Thanks very much, Dale. Be well.
Hold on. You know what, Dan? I got a bunch of questions I was ignoring. Let's see. I think your guess handle. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, good response from attendees, and
Good.
appreciate you being here very much.
Excellent.
So,
Be well.
right.
Tell anybody they can shoot me questions, DM me on on Twitter, ETF Professor. Thanks a bunch.
Dan. Everyone, Dan Weisskopf, giving spirit, sharing his knowledge with us today. Remember, don't just count your ETFs, count your blessings, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. You could join the team in 13 minutes for the morning edge. Adios. Thanks, Dan.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.